Welcome to Whatcha Makin, a podcast about sharing ideas and connecting with the maker community. Your hosts are Alex Adams of Type A Furniture and Alex Duffey of Duffey Woodcraft. Whatcha Makin is proudly sponsored by Nextwave CNC.
What you making in the shop today? Got a couple Alexes to show you the way, from the blueprints to the shavings on the floor. Pull up a stool, let's see what's in store.
Welcome to Whatcha Makin, a podcast where we talk all about what's on our bench, spotlight makers throughout the community, and remind you that the air quality of outside is so bad right now, an ashtray would be a prompt description. So if I start smelling like or sounding like a 90-year-old chain smoker halfway through this episode, just roll with it. Tonight's main topic is holiday prep. I'm Alex Duffey, and you can find me at Instagram and on YouTube at Duffey Woodcraft.
And I'm Alex over at Type A Furniture. You can find me on Instagram at Type A Furniture.
Do you know who's not an ashtray?
Our patrons.
Yeah, they're not.
Which they are over at patreon.com/whatchamakinshow. And that's how they subscribe to the show and help us keep this show going. So head on over there if you are not already, or if you want to help out the show by leaving a rating on wherever you get your podcast. That would be wonderful.
It would be amazing. And you know what else is amazing? Whatcha Makin is proudly sponsored by Nextwave CNC. If you're looking for the best CNC on the market today, look no further than a Shark CNC from Nextwave. And remember, if you need an extra little cast, Nextwave is still offering that $500 to if you can make a fun project with your CNC and want to teach it. Just message them on Instagram to learn more about how your project can be highlighted through all of their channels, and you can earn yourself an extra $500.
Sorry, I had to adjust my screen because it made it look like you had like a popped zit on your face. Something got on my screen. It was weird.
I mean, I probably do somewhere, but I haven't done that recently.
A very nice skincare routine.
No, I don't.
You just use the 13-in-1 motor oil?
Basically, I'm almost 40 and I still get zits. My dad is in his 70s and he still gets zits. Like, we just have bad skin in our family. Anyways, I guess that's what you came to this podcast to hear about. But if you didn't come to this podcast to hear about that, let's talk about what's on our bench.
What you doing?
So on my bench this week, if I can open the notes window back up here because I, navigated away. So this week I've just been doing tons of restock. So kind of as I've talked about the last couple of weeks, everything has been selling really well. So I've been very happy about that at the retail locations. So I did a batch of 50 whiskey smokers over the weekend, a batch of about 60 soap dishes to go to at a couple of different places. I've got all of the wood for my game boxes. So my D&D dice boxes and the Yahtzee or Squatch-Z game boxes. And so I've got all the wood.
How was that? Did you crash that wedding?
No, I'm waiting for. Okay, yeah, we'll get there. I'm waiting. So, okay, actually, we'll just go there now. I'm waiting for a picture from the museum to give so I can see, the centerpieces. But no, I did not go and just crash the wedding because I technically didn't know where it was or when it is. So they told me they needed the stuff by the 1st. Now, did that mean the wedding was on the 1st? I don't know. So, but yeah. I was kind of hoping I could find out, but I didn't. So anyways, so all my for those who didn't listen to last week's episode, I had a whole bunch of Sasquatches sell at the museum where my products are at. And they had ordered some more, and I found out that they were all being used for centerpieces for a wedding. So, which was pretty darn cool.
Very cool.
A Sasquatch themed wedding. How cool is that?
That's pretty
the groom better be in a Squatch costume. Like,
it's prime for getting the wedding sponsored by Dr. Squatch.
Ooh, yeah, it is. Yeah, okay, never mind. I have so many jokes I could go there, but I'm not going to. Anywho, so yeah, I'm prepping all the wood for the game boxes. I've got all that. I've got them. I started planing them down to size so I can get them on the CNC. So I'll be doing that this week. And then so there is a bar restaurant that my wife and I love to go to. It's called The Sip here in Salmon Creek, Washington. And so if you are local, go to The Sip. You'll probably find me. I'm there at least 2 or 3 nights a week. It's our local haunt that we love. And anyway, so they're relatively new, and we've been talking, and they love my woodworking stuff. I've given them a couple of gifts, and the two owners are the bartenders, by the way. And one of them, her name's Emily. I gave her some hop earrings that I made, and she absolutely loved them. And she told me on Saturday, she goes, "Hey, I've had like 4 people ask if they can buy my earrings that you gave me." She goes, "So if you want to just start selling your earrings here, like we can put up a display and you can do that." And I was like, "Yeah, would love to. How much do you want for that? Like what's your cut?" And I trying to figure out all the business side of it. They don't even want to do that. They just literally want me to put a barcode up for my Venmo and just have people Venmo me directly, and that they don't have to deal with it. I'm like, that is so cool. I'm still going to give them a cut because I'm nice like that.
Yeah.
And they're great people.
Are those earrings? I can't remember. Are those laser cut?
They are laser cut. Yep.
Okay. I was going to say, I figured that they were laser cut, but I was like, I should just double check and ask again.
Yeah. Yeah, so funny enough, I've been making a lot of earrings lately between the Sea Gypsy wanting a display of earrings, the museum wanting a display of earrings. I had to do a restock on my own personal display for my markets. So I've probably made 1,000 to 1,500 pairs of earrings in the last month.
Wow. Yeah, I stopped
it's a lot of
doing
earrings
because they just don't work too well for like the 3D print. Like I sold a few, but it was like it just wasn't worth it. Because I was like, I'll just double down on keychains because those are like not quite as delicate. So it's not that they didn't sell; it's just choosing between other items.
Yeah, and I had thought about doing earrings on 3D printer stuff. I've seen some people, but I've talked to a bunch of people at markets, and they have said that they don't really do well. And I'm like, I kind of get it because they're plastic, and people usually want something a little bit more high end, I guess I would say, for earrings.
Yeah, a little
right?
bit more showy and classy. Because they work very well for like people who like whimsical and fun stuff. Like that's the type of person that it fits. So I don't think it has quite a wide of a reach to the more general market for the 3D printed ones.
Right. Yeah. And where like wooden earrings, like those, you get a lot of the people who want the high class earring, but also want, natural and nature themed items. So a lot of my earrings are, leaves or some of them are, I do really small glue ups and in a sheet, and then I'll cut out shapes like circles and squares and stuff. But then your, focus is the glue up itself of a whole bunch of, scraps.
Have you done Sasquatch and alien earrings?
They do well all year round.
Sasquatch ones, I mean, that could have been great at the wedding if they would have went with it.
They may have bought a pair or two. I don't know. They're at the museum. So
they are
maybe
there.
The bride
was
maybe the bride was wearing some Sasquatch earrings. So who knows?
Awesome.
They didn't sell out of those. So
they only need one pair.
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe. If you had the whole bridal party, the gals
that's
could
true.
all have them too. Anyways, and I started originally when I was making my earrings, I was using sterling silver, and I've had a couple of people complain about the quality of the sterling silver and everything. So now I've upgraded to surgical steel on all my, the parts that actually go in your ear, which has increased the cost a bit, but everyone who's now grabbed them and I've put a little sign that says surgical steel, I've actually sold more, I think, now, because people see surgical steel and that they know it's a higher quality and it's going to last versus, itchy and turn your ear green.
Well, and I mean, the surgical steel also, like, that's not a plated material. That's a solid material. So you don't have to worry about it wearing off and then whatever material underneath is exposed.
Exactly.
Well, the sterling would probably be solid, wouldn't it?
No, sterling silver's plated usually.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. If you get solid silver, which is a whole nother price point, right? Like, you can do that. That's a huge price point. But for most people, like especially craft earring, when you buy the kits to build stuff out of it, you're paying for the sterling silver plated. And that stuff, isn't the greatest quality. So, but yeah, that's what's been on my bench this week. What about you?
Hey, did you mention your soap dishes? I can't remember if you did, because I had a question about
it. I did. Yeah, I said I made about a batch of 60 of them or so.
For those ones, I can't. Do you have a? Are those the ones that have the they're like the not the cheese like slice or like where it's segmented for it to drain?
It's got some holes or some diagonal cuts in it for that. Yes.
Okay. What do you typically finish that with?
So first of all, I use juniper wood because it doesn't rot, and so I only use juniper for my or the full the eastern red cedar, aromatic cedar. Some places call it too, but that's juniper, and so I only use that because it doesn't rot, and I can leave it. You can leave it in your shower, and it's fine. So then all I do is I dunk it in tung oil, and I let it sit for a little bit give it a bath of tung oil and then let it drip dry and wipe off the excess and then let it air dry for 48 hours.
Gotcha.
That's it. So
cool.
It brings out the color. It looks really nice, and it stays. Now it will eventually wear off. I had real quick tangent about my soap dishes. I've had this one lady come to my craft fairs every single year, and I swear to God, she's a scammer because she says she's bought. I don't remember her buying because I don't remember everybody, but she says she bought a soap dish, and that the soap dish, the paint ran, and it turned her the stone in her bathroom red. And she's like, because the soap dishes are red because they're juniper, and the stain or the paint ran and it turned it red. I've had soap dish in my shower for 5 years. It's never run color. I've had hundreds of these from family members that I've given them out to. None of them run. Like it's not possible. Plus that's the color of the wood. It's not like it's going to run. And so every year though, she comes by my booth and it's just like, you ruined my shower. I should seek damages.
Statute of limitations, baby.
Regardless, I'm like, okay, lady, prove it. I'd love to see the example. Right. Send me a picture. Like, let's talk about it. She never has. She's had my card and so on. And also, like, there's no way juniper would do that. Even with tung oil, like, it's not going to stain red anything. Even if she had it in like a sauna and it was like cooking like out the tenons. Yeah. Like that's the only way that you could maybe do something like that. And even then, maybe. Yeah. Even then, it wouldn't stain stone. Like it wouldn't stay in the stone. You'd be able to wipe that off with some CLR pretty easily. Yeah. So yeah, I think she's a scammer, but she comes by the booth every year. Is like, I should seek damages. And I'm like, okay, then do so. Or are you like trying to be like, get me something free? Like, I don't get it. But it's been 3 years now, and I don't like seeing her every time she does.
Yeah, that's annoying when you have something like that.
Yeah. But anyways, that was my little tangent on soap dishes. What have you been doing this week, Alex?
Yeah, so I'll start off with the 3D print stuff. I can't remember if I did this right after the last time recorded or right before, but anyway, I was going to bring it up again. So I did a bunch of custom pieces. One of them was a Wonder Woman themed hitch cover that I did for someone, and then I had another person that had this is actually the same family as like the grown daughter had that done, and then the dad they had their little golf carts that they wanted their keychains for. So they had the little, it basically just looks like a red golf cart, kind of a cartoonish flat drawing on that one for that keychain. And I did do that one in PETG just because with it being a golf cart, I knew it would be outside more. So I was like, yeah, I'll just it's not an exotic color or anything like that. It's red, black, white, and gray. So I've got those colors. So I might as well just print it in PETG because I've been slowly converting some things over to print PETG just because of outdoor markets, making sure the stuff can last. Because like I do my because my key, the key ring holders that I do, the car ones, like I make those ones a lot of PETG not because they have to, but just because with like how I display them and whatnot, they need to be more prominent and out to be able to see, and so they just need to survive the elements. So it's like, yeah, it's fine. The other one that I did, which was also PETG, was the Husker helmet themed wind chime that I made for the person who sells wind chimes at the market, the weekly farmers market that I normally go to. And so they were super happy with those ones. So those turned out pretty decent. There were some details on it that were like really small that I probably should have, because you know how they have like the ear holes on the sides of the helmets? Because these were like more classic helmets, not the modern ones with like the cool slits and the weird shape. Like these are the very circular, like late 90s kind of style, which is, you know, what we all think of when we think of Nebraska football, because that's the only time we can think about, because it's just been basically trash since then. And so like the lines were kind of thin around there.
Sorry.
I'm not bitter.
No, not at all.
No, yeah, it's been rough being a Husker fan. The slow degrade of the program over the last 20 years has been just, it's been terrible.
Hey, I feel the same way about being a Duck fan, because they keep going or getting almost to the championship and then they choke at the last second. So,
bro, I would love for us to be there. Anyway, the details on that helmet, I should have taken them off because they were very, very small, and so I think that the lines on those might have been smaller than the width of the nozzle head, potentially, which I think is why it might have been kind of funky. And the other thing too is that since the lines were so narrow, whether it was on the top layer or not, with the white of the helmet that was like right next to it, it wasn't quite as consistent as what I have wanted. So I probably should have just taken those details out, but I was trying to make sure that I got it done by the time the next market had rolled around, when I was going to see these people, which was kind of interesting, because I didn't do like specifically wind chimes, but I've done like some wind spinners, but they've been like okay, so I think I'm probably actually gonna like wind those down and not really try and do those. Plus, like the wind spinners, like the fins are delicate, moving them around, all that stuff. It's like, I don't know if I'm gonna do any more of these. Same thing with the bird feeders as well, that I've printed a few, but I don't know if they'll be something that I continue doing.
Now, your wind spinners, are they like the things that have like, they have like wings and they flap and you know, spin in the wind, or what are your wind spinners?
Usually it's something that has like 4 blades on the back. So like there's like a couple of different characters, or there's like a rocket ship, or like a Wile E. Coyote one, or a stormtrooper one. So it's the fins behind. So it's kind of like, not like the wind turbines, but like it's got blades like that. I don't do like the what's the one that all the wood turners make? It's like the classic like wood duck ones where it's like the wings that stand out. Like I don't do anything like that. Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've seen, there's a house right by myself there. Actually, here's a good photo, similar of it, that has like a windmill but made an airplane wooden, and like I've been wanting to make that myself.
It was Snoopy and an airplane, but that one, the airplane blade was so delicate on that one. Like I had a tip of a blade pop off of that, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll glue that later. And then the other day, I had like the entirety of that blade pop off, and I'm like, you know, I'm just done with this one. Because I had also printed like a Harry Potter one for my wife that I then sold because I had on display. But I printed more. But I was like, I'm not gonna print any more of these to sell and bring along, because it's like they are. Because the reason that I had tried them was because they are a higher dollar item, but I tend to shy away from something that's delicate, just because moving things around and setting them up, you're just more likely to lose stuff in inventory to damage and whatnot. It's the same thing with some like Pokemon figurines and Pokemon cards that I've had that are like, they're really cool and they sell, but there's so many small intricate details that it's more likely to get damaged. Or I've had on one of those Pokemon cards, like I had someone bring one back because the thing had like broke off or whatever. I mean, I reattached it for him, but it's like, I just don't want to have to deal with that as much. So I do try and change the inventory a little bit so that it's something that's easy to be serviced, if that makes sense, or better customer experience just in general. Because I mean, it's the other reason why I don't do any of the expandable swords or whatever, because you just don't want the parents coming back with kids saying, Jimmy got a black eye, and your red lightsaber stained our bathtub, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Red dye 40. Anyway, yeah. I've got lots of county fair stuff coming up, because that's one of my also bigger events that I have. So it's like the equivalent of that Seward 4th of July event that I went to, but it's spread out over several days. So I'll actually it's a setup on Wednesday. I think it's a half day on Thursday, and then full day on Friday and Saturday. And then I think it's like a 2-hour window on Sunday or something like that when the building is open, because I'm set up as an indoor vendor. It's just easier for me to do it that way because I can leave stuff set up because they lock the building at night. So I'm not super worried about it, and it's just easier to deal with. And I actually do bring a printer and set it up and print stuff. So last year I actually brought all of my printers and printed stuff because I didn't have quite as much inventory. So I did have some table space. But this year I'm like, I've got more inventory, so I need some more of that table space. So I'll just bring one printer. It'll be less filament to have to bring to do stuff. And I'll just have the other printers at home running some of the larger prints, where I can just go home when I'm grabbing lunch. And if I need to change the print, then I can. Because I do get, because last year I got a bunch of custom requests, and some of them I was able to do, some of them I wasn't. So it's nice having the ability to go to those printers and get those extra sales as a result of those requests. But anyway, some of the things that I've been printing to get ready for it. So I had, so last time we chatted, I had just finished printing a Stormtrooper helmet that I'd sold. And then I did assemble that one, and that one went together so much better than the previous one. There were still some small areas in it where it was like you kind of had to adjust a little bit and maybe have a slight gap, but not nearly as bad as the gaps of the original one. So I'm printing another one to have on display at the fair when I set up, just to be like you know how it is when people come by and then they grab their friend and like, hey, this is the one where I saw the Stormtrooper booth. And so then you get more people coming in. So it's definitely more of a display item, but I mean, not bad for selling a couple already for something that I wasn't planning on necessarily generating sales from. Same thing with the Mandalorian helmet, but I'll probably have them up high. Well, maybe not like high, but a little bit more towards the back, because I will have my it's like the trifold wire rack that I have. I think I'm going to set that on top of a table and have it be up so it's visible higher up, so it's not taking any of my front showroom floor area that I have, because I have a 10x15 this year. I think last year I had a 10x10, but I can't remember, because I think that's all they had for spots left. But anyway, I'll probably do a fairly open U shape for mine, just so that people can come in out of the flow of people and be able to come in and look at stuff. And then I've been printing a lot of the large Pokemon card pieces, as well as the ones where they have the actual Pokemon coming out of the card. Because I've went back through and I was like, oh yeah, I realized I didn't reprint a couple of those ones that I had. So because I was like, oh yeah, I haven't reprinted a Lugia card in a while, and that one sold pretty well. So I'm trying to stock up on some of those because they're they're relatively low filament. They do take a little bit more, like they take a decent amount of time on the printer to print usually, because they're usually in that like 6 to 8 hour time frame to print those, because there's just a lot of detail because the layers are so thin, but there's not very many layers, so it ends up not being a whole lot of material. So they're decent on like margin for a product. And then I've been trying to do a little bit more Star Wars themed stuff. I found some fly swatters because I think last week I had printed them on a whim where it was like a Darth Vader one, and I did sell one of those because it was hilarious because this person was like, they're like, my husband had been getting on me about getting a fly swatter, and I need to get one, and he's gonna love this one. So it was just fun with that little instance of they actually needed a fly swatter, and it's like, oh, we'll make it fun. So I had the Darth Vader one, a Yoda one, and then a Mandalorian one. There's some others that I've come across, but I'm hesitant to print like a whole bunch of different characters and just other stuff in general. So I might just stick with those for now just to see how those do. And then I've got some of my key holders. I'm printing out the parts, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue those during the slow times of the event, because there's like those 2-3 hour windows where it's really dead. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that then. And I have some other prints where it's like you got to take off like the supports or the brims or whatever. And then just for something for me to do. And then I've got some other online paperwork stuff that I have to do for the cross-country coaching that I'll do during that as well. But the other thing is I'm hoping to get, because I had the big Charizard in the past. I found it's like the Mega Dark Charizard. I found a model for that's like similar in size. So I think I'm going to print that one and see if I can get that one together for the event. So I'm excited for that one because it's just fun, because like whenever the kids see the like the Mega Dark Charizard, like the little figurine that I have of that one, they're always so excited. So it's like, let's see what they react to with a huge one. And then we've been turning in so much stuff for the county fair. We're not quite done yet because we still have to like turn in vegetables and things. But I helped my son with a couple of projects. So one of them was he has a birdhouse that he painted to kind of like match the Cardinals color. And so they had me print off, my wife found a model for a Cardinal that's like it's like a 2D model that's like, I don't know, maybe 10 millimeters thick or something like that, double-sided. So what I did was I basically chopped off at a certain spot, like the wing and the tail, because they had like little dovetails to like actually put it together. So my wife just wants to glue it onto the birdhouse. So like the head's on the top and the wings are on the side and then the tail's at the back. And so that's another one that I did with PETG. So I think they were waiting for the paint to dry on that one. Then they'll glue those on and then they'll turn that one in tomorrow, if I remember correctly. But my wife had a fun thought. She's like, well, since it is a Cardinal and it's a birdhouse with an opening, we could put the head on the back and then the tail on the front. So it's like they're going in the bird's butt in order to go into the birdhouse. I'm like, that is hilarious and I love it, but we won't do it for this.
What? Why not?
It would probably get some good chuckles, but I bet we would get docked a ribbon color for something like that, just without explanation. And then so last year, I think my son made a TNT Minecraft block in Bamboo Studio. So this one, he actually had, it wasn't all flat on the sides, like the text was coming out of the side. And so what he wanted to do with that one is there's like a category for like modifying existing files. So he modified a file that was his own. And so we essentially just hollowed it out and made it a pen holder. So that one, it was really interesting because when it printed, I got some like weird, like residual black filament in with the white next to the white portion of the band of white in the TNT block. Because like if you know the Minecraft blocks, the TNT is written on a band of white, so it almost interfaced really weird. So it was kind of odd. So I don't know if that nozzle, I don't know if there was something clogged in there or what, but I might just need a new nozzle for that printer that it printed on. And then we did so this one was a while back. I think it was in the spring, maybe. It might have even been further back than that, when we made a wand out of walnut. So we entered that one, and that one was, I think we finished that one in the, it was bumbleshoots. They're like stung oil, which is tung oil with a citrus solvent in it. So we entered that one as well. That one will drop off tomorrow. And then I think that's most of the stuff that we had for the county fair that I kind of helped them with. They did some other crafts as well, where they did like one of the things where like you fill in concrete in one of those like egg trays, and then painted it. So we did one that actually looked like a sunflower. So we painted the inside yellow, and then like the little egg portions of that tray were like the petals of the flower. So that one really turned out nice and was really cool. That one was my wife's idea. And then on the CNC, I actually did a tramming video last week. So I used the IDC Woodcraft tramming bar, which is the 12-inch. I can't remember. Do you use that one as well?
Yep, that's the one I have too.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched your reel. It was very good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it was very interesting because I had found the instruction set that Next Wave have on their little help page, which was actually, it was a really nice walkthrough on like shim it here and use these screws for this type of adjustment and whatnot. And so that was very, very helpful. And so the one thing that was better about theirs was that if you have not done anything with your spoil board before, in theirs they have the like the sacrificial, like I don't know if it's like a 10x10 piece of MDF where it'll just do like a flattening pass on it, where you can see if it is leaving those track marks or not. Because the good thing with that is that you don't have to worry about like having a setting up another level surface to reference off of. But the downside is each time you adjust, you got to set up an NBF board and run it through again each time, which if you have to make a bunch of adjustments can be a little bit tedious. But you don't need a tramming bar or anything like that. You just need whatever bit that you use for flattening your spoil board anyway, so you don't need any extra accessories. But since I had the tramming bar, I was like, I ran the flattening passes. The ridges on there are not that bad. So if I go all the way around, like technically if you were to like set a piece of paper on it, the top parts would all be on the same level of it. So it's like that tramming bar is out by 12 inches. So on that lever arm, like it's going to be relatively good. So it's one of those like precision things. Like, hey, you always get that dude in the comments who's like, oh, not enough precision. I'm like, dude, it's fine. And I also it was really funny. I had another person who was like, getting on me about shimming with the aluminum foil, and I was like, he's like, well, that shim's gonna fall out because of vibration and stuff. I'm like, that's why it's screwed down, like it's clamped into there, it's gonna be fine. It's like, well, but vibration. I was like, usually you screw your screws all the way in tight, so it's not an issue. So that was just funny. So I just kind of toyed with that guy a little bit. So you get the keyboard warriors that are always trying to do something when they're bored with their own lives.
I saw that comment and I kind of chuckled.
Yeah. I love toying with people and just messing with people. It's fun. Because it's like, after a while, you just get used to it. You don't take it personally. Because you're just like, they do this to everyone. It's not just me. So it ends up being fine. Because, like, honestly, when it comes down to it, like, the amount of precision that you need is not super high, and with that 12-inch bar on there, like as long as you're like relatively close on that, with because the method that I used, if you have not seen the reel, I mean you can go to my Instagram page and view it. But when I started out, when I basically what I did was I got the tramming bar, I set it up, and I basically went around basically the front, back, left, and right, and found the spot that was the lowest, and then I get it so that I could just barely slide a piece of paper under there, and then I went to the other side, and my left to right, with the right side being all the way down, the left side was like, it was maybe a 1/4 inch off of the spoil board, which is like a significant amount of distance. But over the distance of a 12-inch tramming bar, like if you get it within getting that piece of paper underneath again, like you're pretty good to go by the time that you're using a bit that like maybe covers the width of like, because I think most of those spoil board bits don't really get much bigger than 1.5 inches, right, in diameter.
Correct.
I mean, I've got some flattening bits that are like 2 and 3 inches, but they need like a huge collet, and you need a 3 horsepower router.
Right, because if it all comes down to size of shank and torque on the bit on the shank itself, and
so you need a pretty big router to push around a router bit that's that large. So in most cases, if you're like a 2 horsepower spindle, I mean, 1.5 inches is probably going to be on the bigger end of what you'll have for a bit. I mean, you can go larger if you want to. It's just getting something like you said that can actually fit that shank size. So I'm confident that it'll be adequate for what I need, and I might reflatten my board once I've had it on there, but it's not that big of a deal because, like I said, I mean, even if you have ridges in there, as long as your workpiece is wide enough, it's going to hit the high points and still be just fine. And I'm going to get marks and dings in the spoil board. That's why it's a sacrificial layer. So I'll probably just do that when it comes around. And then I started playing around with and watching some of the videos on cribbage boards with using the IDC Woodcraft's drill bit videos on how to use that properly. So I got some interesting videos on just drilling with the bits in general, and like the peck drilling and how they do that if you don't have a dedicated drill bit for the CNC. So that was good to watch some of those. So, and Garrett's got great videos. Honestly, they're really easy to follow. So I find his videos with IDC Woodcraft to be very nice. So kudos to them for putting all that stuff together, because he's been churning out the videos for the past 5 years, I think. Can't remember how long he's had that channel going.
It's been quite a while, yeah.
Yeah. So I found those videos to be very helpful. So yeah, that's what I have been making here recently. What have you been breaking?
What have I been breaking?
Help is on the way, dear!
So I guess I would say my lungs. All the smoke in the air from the fires. So for those, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it on the news, like Spokane, Washington has been burning like crazy. Unfortunately, as I saw as of today, about 700 homes and structures have been burned down. And
oh wow.
Yeah, we have, it's so far, this is the worst recorded fire season on record. And it's just, there's so many fires going, and we still have another 2 months of fire season. So it's going to be a rough year. And just my heart goes.
Yeah. When I was in Colorado, it was the same thing where it was the like off the charts for risk for fires. Fortunately, when I was there, they had gotten some rain, which was good for that area. I don't know if you guys have seen rain recently though.
No. And we're in our dry season. We won't see rain for 2 months. So, yeah, my heart goes out to everybody who's being affected. There's quite a few. There's a couple of woodworking content creators that I know that are out in Spokane and other places that are. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to do that, but they just, yeah, they're dealing with it right now. So my prayers go to them. But yeah, so as far as that, like, yeah, the smoke sucks here and the weather is super hot. I guess the only thing that really went wrong in my shop this week was actually the first batch of whiskey smokers I made came out slightly oval. And I determined that two things. I think the bit was dull, and so it was slowing. And I was doing, because of, my machine can't handle it, I was doing some thick passes, and so it was putting some extra friction and torque on the unit, and I think it got a little slightly out of home. So I rehomed the machine, I changed bits, and it was fine. So I just think it got slightly out of home, and because of that, they were just a little oval.
So it was because it was dull, getting more press, like basically more force on the bit, causing it to wander, is what you're saying? Yeah,
because I, depth of, like, basically I do a quarter on this one because I use the Beast. It was a 1/4 of an inch pass, and I'm going pretty extensive as far as my my speeds and feeds go. And so I think as it's doing its round motion around it, it was just on, especially because I'm shooting this time, I was cutting out the hickory, which is a pretty dense wood.
Oh yeah.
I think that it was just putting a little too much torque on those joints, and so they just got, and I'm talking like a 32nd out of alignment, like very small, but enough that it was noticeable on a couple of the shapes. I was like, well, it's not a perfect circle. So what's not been working in your shop?
So the first thing that I have is normally something that I'm good about, which is taking my 3D prints off of the plate before I start the next one. So with the Stormtrooper helmets, I've been making sure that I leave them on the plates until everything cools down. I mean, technically you're supposed to do that for all of them, so that, like, dimensionally wise, everything doesn't, like, warp. But sometimes when you're doing, like, smaller things where it's only, like, touching a couple of spots, like, it doesn't really matter too much, so you can pop them off while the plate's still a little bit warm. Obviously not, like, fresh hot after being finished. But I had forgotten to take out, and these were the, like, this was, gosh, was that a 16-hour print? It was, like, the biggest pieces of the Stormtrooper helmet. And I started the next print, and I was like right next to the door. I was doing something else, and then I just hear this, like, weird cracking noise. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I, like, run over the printer, in the P1S, which is the enclosed printer. The bed had went up and had started getting pressed by the print head. And so luckily I was able to pull out the pieces for the Stormtrooper helmet before it, like, completely got the hot end of the nozzle pressing into the workpiece. Because I've had that happen before, where you start something and the nozzle's hot and it just, like, makes a big old hole in whatever it is that was on the plate still. So I got the pieces out. I canceled the print right away. Fortunately, for that one, there's like a physical pause button on the front of it that I could just hit without having to navigate through the menu. So I was able to pause it where it was and get the stuff pulled out. And I went through and examined it to make sure that nothing was damaged. Like, that was one of your, like, oh shit moments where it's like, did I just ruin a 14-hour print because I forgot to take it off? So no damage to them, fortunately. I just had to clear out the backspace in between where the printer changes filament all the way in the back to make sure that because I think the prime tower, it got squished in, like, a really weird spot. So I had to get that out, and I went through and, like, made sure everything was fine. I think the front still, like, stayed on the print head, because that one, since it's magnetic, it commonly pops off. And so I think after I had started that print, it popped off. It had an issue, but it was okay. But actually, I think it was the print that I had started after that, it was a Pokemon card, so it was laying down after I'd actually gotten it to start. It laid down, like, that big flat black layer that it was going to print on top of and continue doing. And somehow that did not adhere properly, and it just made a huge mess of things. Fortunately, I did not get a blob on the end of the nozzle, but it stopped because the whatever was getting scraped up and came off of the print bed popped off that front cover. So it's almost like a feature where, like, if your print screws up, it's more likely to pop off this magnetic front cover and actually pause the print. So it's kind of a weird safety net, if you will, to help it from recovering from like a failed print, so you don't have a complete mess in the morning if you're doing overnight prints like I do, because I commonly do overnight prints, which are, can be a little bit dangerous depending on what type of model that you actually have printing. It's the other thing that we had. So an issue that we had was we forgot to get picture frames for the stuff that we were turning in for 4-H, because they have to have that to be able to like hang it on the display. So we had forgotten that, and we had 4 of those. So we were rushing out to Walmart because we were getting to the end of the deadline, and it had started getting windy, and so my son was carrying the pictures because we were taking them in just to make sure that the sizing was correct, because he had put it on some like border backers where he had hand cut out, so it wasn't like a true dimension, so we wanted to make sure that it fit. So we got the right size picture frames, which I was surprised that we had like the poster board size picture frames just out at Walmart, because that was the only place that I could think of that would have that kind of stuff. So fortunately they had one that was big enough for it. So we came out and he was holding the pictures, and that wind whipped the picture out of his hand, and it was like 20-mile-per-hour wind. So he's like, we're edging to the near of the deadline of needing to turn this stuff in. His picture that he had drawn, actually it was the one that he had painted, and this thing is like 20 inches by 30 inches, so it's really big, and it's getting caught and thrown by the wind in a Walmart parking lot. So fortunately, he's like, after like 100 feet, he was able to actually chase it down and catch it. So the crisis was averted there, but it was just one of those things where, like, when it rains, it pours, with everything going wrong. And then with me filming doing the tramming stuff, one thing that I had done was, so the clamp for the spindle, that's something that you have to like unscrew and screw back in as you are shimming up and getting the right orientation for everything. So I actually stripped one of the screw threads on one of those. It's still like operational and fine, where I can kind of get the one screw in enough to like hold things in place. Like it's good enough, but I definitely need to get a replacement piece, because it was a aluminum piece. So with you know how it is sometimes where you've got a steel screw and aluminum threads, the steel screw is going to win if you don't align it properly when you go in. So usually I'm like really good about not stripping threads, but it's just that terrible feeling when it's righty-loosey, when you're just like, oh, I stripped those threads. So I need to get a replacement part. I think it's just like it's just the square bracket that goes onto the, bearing slides. So I'm guessing it shouldn't be a difficult part to replace, but I should be okay for a little while, until I get that replaced. And then the other thing was, I've got my ring camera, or not ring camera, my ring light that I use for filming, for getting enough light where I need it to be. And that one is on battery power. So they got these like special batteries or whatever. And I had taken them off to take them inside and charge. And I had paused before going inside to like pick some weeds or something in the backyard. And I set them on the fence. And then I forgot about them. And then it rained overnight when I had left them out overnight. And we're not talking just like a light sprinkling of rain. We're talking like more than an inch of rain, like torrential downpour. So
Oh no.
yeah, so like I was like, oh my gosh, and these are like the big batteries too of the 2 sets of batteries that I have. So they're like the more expensive the ones naturally. So
Ugh.
I brought those inside, and I was just like, it was still wet on the underneath side of the battery. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be bad. So I brought them inside. I flipped them over so that the wet side was up. I tried to dry off what I could dry off, and then I let them sit for a while to like dry. Because the fortunate thing is, since they weren't plugged into anything, like those terminals were not connected, so I was praying that if it dried out, we should be okay. And so I put them on the charger. They charged fine. I have not actually used them since then, but I've got my finger crossed that they are still usable and working. So hopefully my lights don't like cut out randomly and those batteries don't explode. So yeah, that's what has gone wrong for me. How about you, sir?
We already did me.
Wait, we did? Oh yeah,
we did. We started
you did the
with
smoke and the oval thing. Sorry,
Uh-huh.
short-term memory.
The price is wrong, bitch.
You are.
The price is wrong, bitch.
There we go. We'll do that twice. So moving on to what you're selling. So this week, farmers market did really well for me this past weekend. It was my best market of the year so far for the farmers market. I was really excited, even though it rained again. Like we had, and I shouldn't say like a lot of rain. It rained for about 10 minutes, and like this time of year, it just sprinkles, but it was enough that it was like, come on, really? People turn around and go home. But otherwise the market itself was great. The sales were fine. I sold more of the book readers that our friend Tracy had recommended. Sold more of those. I also had my bread knives finished this week. I had restocked those, and so I sold a bunch of those as well. It's funny because this is my first time doing a consistent farmers market, that I get people who are now recognizing me and come back to buy more stuff every time they come. Like I have a couple of regulars at this point, and it's weird because I'm like, it's a woodworking thing. Like I'm not a bread maker or, cookie maker. So I don't expect
not consumables.
Right. I don't expect regulars, but I've been getting regulars that come back, and like a couple of people are like, do you have anything new this week? And I'm like, well, yeah, I have the book readers and I have the bread knives. We'll take one of each. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
there's other things you could buy too.
Yeah, because that's what I've had more of is that farmer's market, and I get the same thing where I have regulars who come back, and that's one thing that I always have in the back of my mind is, like you had said, because we are not making something that is like a consumable per se, it makes it difficult to keep retention of those regulars, and so those generally become the people who ask for like special stuff or have special requests a lot of times, or they can be your ones where you experiment on where you're like, well, I don't have anything new, but I was thinking about making XYZ, and sometimes that can tickle their fancy, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I would like to see that or whatnot. And because they've actually purchased something, like their opinion matters more when they like request something new, because they have actually spent money with you, as opposed to someone who's come by and like never spent any money and like, hey, do you have this or whatever, and then you make it and you never see it again or whatnot. So it is nice having those regulars get those special requests in.
Yeah. So it's been just something different, which has been fun. And then I also made a vendor sign. So actually one of the vendors who really liked the wooden sign that I made asked me to make her a wooden sign for her booth as well. So that was a nice bit of income for that too, for basically something I've already figured out how to do. So that was nice. And now I have, and she regularly sits across from me too. So now it's like my wooden sign's there, and on the other side of the aisle is her wooden sign. So it's, you can get more people are going to see them now, and hopefully more vendors are like, hey, we want a wooden sign too.
Is that one of those ones where you like clip it to your like canopy and it has like the little hanging thing?
Yeah. So actually, I found a guy who does 3D printed sign holders that basically ratchet onto the square, and he's made inserts so that it can be adjustable to whatever size post your tent is, which is really nice, because her post was different than my post, and so it was easy to figure out the different insert. And then it basically just the holder is just almost an L bracket, and the L part is a hole that you put a wooden dowel in. And so then I have the wooden sign that I put on some twine basically and slide over the dowel, so that it can just free swing in the wind to gather some attention. So yeah, it's nice. I really like it. It's one of the better ones I do say so myself. It's one of the better ones I've seen out there. Cause like for me, like I have the logo plus title and some subtext, but I also put a QR code on there, all made off of the laser in wood, so that it's walnut back and cherry as lettering, and it stands up off. So it has some depth to it. So, and she wanted the reverse. She wanted cherry back and walnut lettering. So yeah.
Wait, so walnut lettering. So did you one of those ones where you have to like do the opposite, push them together and then cut the excess off?
Nope. I did a 1/2 inch sheet of cherry as the sign base. And then on the laser, I took an 1/8 inch sheet of walnut and I cut out the lettering. And then I used what I cut out as the template to put on top of the cherry sign, and then I basically put glue on the letters and then put them back in the spot where I cut them out, so that it was the perfect jig for it, basically.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool.
So
that is
so that everything's raised.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. But that's what I've been selling this week. What about you?
So I think I had mentioned in the past that I had this TV cabinet project that I've been talking to a recurring customer about. And so this past week I had done some research on the different types of hinges, because I think when we had talked about that, so it's a pretty decent sized TV that goes over, and because we're putting the cabinet doors all the way across, that's a lot of weight on there. So I gave them a couple of different options for cabinet hinges, and the kicker was that we needed black hardware, so that kind of limits the amount of hinges that you have, especially with like hidden hinges, because a lot of them are just silver. That's what the majority of them end up being. And so the things that I researched and found, all of the ones that were hidden hinges that I had found, hidden being like not visible from the outside is what I mean on that one. So there were your normal like Euro hinges, which is what you typically see in most kitchen cabinets. I found ones that did open to 180 degrees. Didn't find anything. There was one that opened to more than 180 degrees, but I could not get it in black. And then there was sauce hinges, which is just the brand name sauce, which are hidden hinges. Those ones are a lot more lighter duty. And originally I didn't think I could use those because I thought they only made really big ones, but I found that the smaller model size, but I needed like 4 of those hinges because they only take 2 screws per, like 2 screws for the frame and then 2 screws for the door. So there's not a whole lot securing there. So you need like their whatever calculator that was on their website recommended 4 per door. And they're not like super high-end premium like Brusso hinges are, but they're definitely not like super cheap. So those ones were the more expensive option, but I was able to get those in black. And then, and those ones are like basically hidden and all the way out of the way, because you know how it is with the cabinet hinges where it's like they kind of stick out a little bit with the Euro style hinges, but it's not like a huge deal, but they're pretty darn visible once you actually open the cupboard. Because they're fairly sizable hardware. And then there was, they're not the exact same as the sauce hinges. They're like the hidden door hinges, where it's kind of like this, I can't remember the type of mechanism is. It's not a 4-bar linkage, but it's very similar where like the hinge goes into the socket that you route out for it. So that one was another option. Since those ones were specifically for doors, that one only needed 2, but they were like 6 or 8 inches long, whereas like the sauce hinges are only like maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches long, depending on which variety of those ones you get. And then the last one that I had, because all of these that I've mentioned so far only open up to 180 degrees with it being like hidden. And then the last one that I threw in there, it's referred to as a 5-knuckle hinge. And so how it's different than your normal like butt hinge that you would have on like a regular door, where it's just the hinge and then the flaps and then you screw it in, is that it kind of curves around the door a little bit, and so the hinge comes out that way, so that the hinge is not just right where you install it in the wall. It's like a couple inches over. So instead of the hinge being visible on like the side of this cabinet, it's like on the front. But since that hinge is forward more, it allows the door to swing out more so that it can swing further than that 180 degrees. And these, what did I say? 5-piece knuckle hinges, something like that. They're super cheap because they're not super complicated like the hidden hinges. So it was the most affordable, or the lowest price point out of any of the ones that I had shown them, because the kicker with the hidden hinges is that it's a lot more involved with the install, because you've got to mortise out the area where those hinges essentially hide. So it's a lot more labor, plus the hardware is more expensive as well. So it ends up being like I think it was a difference of like between those like very basic 5-knuckle hinges and the sauce hinges, there was like a $200 difference in those. So it was a little bit of a wide range, and it wasn't just the hardware, it was some of the labor involved. So I was kind of hoping for the Euro hinges, just because those ones you can kind of adjust them after the fact. But I should be okay on these knuckle hinges, because there's technically adjustments on there because there's slots, but we'll just have to see. So I'll just have to line stuff up really well when I'm actually drilling those holes to make sure that everything is lined up really well on those. And then the connection from the first door and the second door, like all of those are just going to be piano hinges, because it doesn't really matter. Like it only has to fold in on itself that 180 degrees, which that piano hinge will do just fine. And I think the reason that I didn't do a piano hinge originally was because for the outside from the frame to the door, was because when it folds out, because of where the hinge is, I think it depends on how closely you mount the hinge pivot point to the door to where that edge of that door actually touches the outside of the cabinet. So I think that's technically your limiter on how far wide it was open. So I wasn't quite as certain on how far that would actually open, if I remember right, if my math was correct. So anyway, they made a choice on what they needed, so I'll be able to actually pick up the materials for that and probably get started after the fair here, because it took a little bit longer to research the hinges than I anticipated, because it made it a little bit more challenging to find those hinges, but only in black to match, because it's just going to be a dark cabinet.
Okay. Then I guess we're on to our main topic.
Who told you you can eat my cookies? Put that cookie down now!
So our main topic tonight is getting ready for the holidays. And did you recognize where that came from, Alex?
Was that Jingle All the Way?
That was Jingle All the Way.
Okay,
Arnold
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's the one that it was from. 'Cause is there another Christmas movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger is in?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
That might be the only one. I'm gonna have to.
Because this is the one with him and Sinbad.
Yeah,
Put that cookie
Sinbad's
down now.
Put that cookie down. All right. Well, tonight's main topic again is all about getting ready for the holidays. And yes, it is only August, but for those of us who make most of our business for the holidays, this is about the time where you start getting ready to get ready. I should say, you're basically start thinking about getting your materials, your parts, your inventory, and all that. So we're going to walk through a little bit of that, of what kind of how each of us does our things. I basically, let's start at ground zero, which is materials. You have to have your materials to make anything. You also have to have tools to make anything, but we're going to leave buying tools out for this now. But as far as materials like this, this time of year for me, I go ahead and I start scouring Facebook Marketplace and my local dealers. So because I have time to lead up before I need to start making stuff, I kind of just start searching Facebook Marketplace a lot to basically get people who are getting rid of wood, who are selling it cheap, things that I can get a good deal on before I would have to go buy it from another source like a lumber yard or something like that. So that is a big thing this time of year. You have the time, start looking for those deals, look for those Facebook Marketplace, look for if your local lumber yards are starting to get rid of stuff. I mentioned this last week. I have a local lumber yard that's getting rid of 1/8-inch sheets of veneered MDF. That's perfect for me because I use that for my laser projects. So I'm going to be working with them to get that at a heavily discounted price from what I would normally buy them from a different dealer at. What about you, Alex? How do you go about hunting for materials this time of year?
Yeah, so for me, materials wise, so it's kind of changed over the years a little bit. Because when I first started out, I was doing just custom stuff. And so I wasn't holding a lot of inventory. But as it has changed and I've gotten customers and I've gotten some regular stuff, it has started with, because I do some corporate gifts through someone else that are like serving trays and then these turning handles, these handles that I turn for like a barbecue set. And so that has been regular enough now that I know ahead of time that I need to get some of this material ready because this is the kicker is that by the time someone orders something, you generally don't have nearly as much time to like source materials and get stuff going, especially if you physically have to go to a lumberyard to get what you need. I think it might be slightly different if it's something that is a little bit more processed, but you still have to transport that regardless of where you get it from. And that's just time that you don't have a lot of times because people are forgetful and they order stuff late and they want it as fast as possible. So I have been what I have done is I have gotten a little bit extra material for that cherry that I use for those serving trays. And I've started this past year, what I did was I actually made a few extra while I was doing it. So I would have inventory next year for essentially the quote unquote blanks that I need. So especially if you're someone who is doing custom stuff, whether it's laser engraving or CNC or whatnot, what you can do is you can get whatever blanks that you need ready, whether it's, leather goods and it's already a finished product like a wallet or something like that you're just engraving, or if it like for my serving trays, like it needs to be a certain dimension and it needs to be processed. And the sources that I get, sometimes I need to do like filling in voids and cracks because I can only get that wide of material as a full width board from certain sawmills. And sometimes I have to deal with cracks and voids. So I have started making the blanks earlier. And when I actually go and get the material for this maple TV cabinet, I'm probably going to buy some more cherry that I have on hand, because I do have cherry on hand, but I may not have quite enough to do an entire order. But this order, because it's a corporate gift, it changes depending on how many people reach that milestone to get that gift. So it changes a little bit year by year. But I generally know that it's between, 10 and 20 units of the tray, and between like 5 and 10 units of the little barbecue set. So it's like, okay, if I have enough material to go on the top end of both of those, that's fine. And then if I start early enough, I can churn through some of that material that has some of the cracks and voids in it. So I actually have time to like use some of that material instead of, I wouldn't trash that material, but saving it for something else. And then when it comes to materials, this is a little bit material adjacent and probably goes into the parts kind of portion that you have listed there, Mr. Duffy, where it's like just making sure that you have the consumable stuff that you need, where it's just like sandpaper. Like, make sure that you have enough sandpaper so that you don't run out and you have to wait either 2 days to get it shipped in from Amazon, or if you can get it from a hardware store, like making another trip to the hardware store when you're like, it's late at night and it's like, oh crap, this store is going to close, or, oh, I need to order this by this time to get, next day delivery or whatnot, for my stuff. So that's one that I always have on top of mind, is sandpaper, because it is that common consumable that I use for every single project. And then on the 3D print side, with filament, I'm generally buying filament when they are doing their sales. So they generally have like a mid-year, like Christmas in July type sale, which is probably over by now. Or they have like a holiday sale for filaments, depending on what brand that you get. But that's when I generally try and stock up on my filament, because I can get it cheaper per unit. Because they have, like, usually it's like, I don't know, if you buy like 10 rolls of whatever filament, you're getting it down to like a cheaper per roll amount. So the more that you can buy your material when those sales are, the lower you can have your expenses that go into those projects. So you have a little bit more margin to work with. And sometimes that's buying that material like right after the holiday season, because sometimes where you source your stuff from might be overstocked themselves from having that thing on hand, from whatever blank or consumable you need, depending on what it is that you make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk about, parts. As you were talking about, sorry, I got distracted by something else. Sorry. I guess so. For me, this time of year too, I'm also, like you said, I'm kind of putting that Facebook Marketplace, that Amazon Marketplace, and any parts that I'm going to need on a wish list, so I can start start watching to see if they go on sale. So I like magnets are a big thing for me this time of year. I'm going to use a lot of magnets for putting my game boards together. So those go on a wish list. So if they go on sale, or if I need to order cribbage board pieces, I order those directly from the manufacturer in China. So I know that that's going to be a 2-month lead time to get over here. So this is the time of the year that I'm going to order those so that they get here in time to put things together.
Your earrings as well, the hardware for that.
Yep, the hardware for the earrings of that. And for the most part, I try and keep a production run of stuff on hand ahead of time. So like right now I have 100 pairs of earring materials that I can make before I have to order more. So I try and keep some backstock of parts at all times. But knowing that Christmas is going to be, busier, I'm going to end up going through them. I'm going to order a lot more. So,
I do the same thing with the keychains, where it's just like, I always have like I think it's like a box of like 100 of them or something like that. Like I always need to have at least one, because you're always replenishing whatever is low on inventory. It's just nice to have it on hand so you don't have to wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, it's important to basically have everything you need on hand when you need it, or when you're going to make things, that you have some backstock, so you're not waiting on shipping, you're not waiting on something to come in. So especially if you get a large wholesale order or something, I've had that happen where I'm like, oh yeah, but now I need to order this and it's going to take a month to get here. So
yeah, it's the same thing with the handles that I use for those serving trays, for those corporate gifts. Like I always have enough to make at least like 20 of those trays or whatever. And the nice thing is, I can always. This is the one reason why I still use Amazon, is because it's just so easy to go back and find that exact part that you ordered previously and order again. So it is easy to keep track of that hardware when you are ordering it that way.
It is, and it.
And also with the wish list
I
that
also
you were talking about.
Yeah, and I also have a Google document, a Google Sheets doc that I put like all my parts in, and then the links to the websites of where I go to get them, with the pricing. So that way, if I find something better, I can replace it, and it just helps me organize.
Yeah, because I have, because those barbecue handle set things that I have, that are like tongs and spatulas and whatever, because I get those from like Penn State Industries, and that's one of the few places where it's like it's the direct website, and that's the only place that I can get that particular thing from, because that's the particular style that they wanted. So I probably, because I haven't had like a whole lot of hardware, but especially with the 3D printing, I've gradually gotten into a little bit more, because like I started having the what is it? I think it's like the 608 bearings that are very commonly used in 3D prints, where it's like for the wind spinners, like it's common to use bearings for that, or other little accessories. And then the little clickers that I use, that they use like the internal keyboard clicker mechanism, like that little bit of hardware, and the keychain stuff. And then I do have some magnets, I just haven't used them a bunch. So I'll probably start doing more magnet stuff as I start using the CNC more, because I'll probably have more of those like fridge magnet type things to be able to sell.
What
size magnets do you usually get? Do you is it a
3
single size?
Yeah, so usually all my stuff uses the 3 millimeter thick by 10 millimeter wide.
Okay.
Neodymium super strong magnets.
Or as Johnny, I would say neodymium or something like that, because he also says aluminum.
Yeah. So next, once you've got your materials, you got your parts, now you need to start talking about, your backstock and your inventory management. So I haven't done it yet. I usually do it in September for me, but I will start going through all of my boxes of inventory of product and kind of do a resort and make sure everything's where it's supposed to be, because I mess it up all year round. But then I also then try and label all the boxes that, like whiskey smokers are in this box, and bookmarks are in this box. And this year I've gotten better about I actually have 2 sets of totes. I have 1 set of totes that are my main backstock, and then I have a smaller set of totes, only a couple, that then I put for the Saturday markets, that I put a small amount of every product in. So I'm only taking 4 totes instead of taking 12 big ones. I don't need to take $10,000 worth of product every time I go somewhere.
I mean, unless you're trying to like bulk up, a lot of lifting.
Yeah. That I'm getting older. I don't want to do that much lifting.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing that I'm doing as well, because and I use for the 3D prints, I use Ziploc bags for a lot of it, just because it's easy to separate in between those two. And I do the same thing, where it's like every time I'm taking down from a market, as I'm filling up that bag, I can see in there what my quantity is, and I actually have a notes thing for my 3D prints of like what I need to print more of. And so it's like, oh, I need to print, more of this animal or whatever, because it's like I've only got 2 left in there, or it's something that I know has not been selling, so I just don't put it on there because I just want to sell out of it and then just not have that item in again. But I should probably start using totes, but I use they're not canvas bags, but they're made out of like polyester or something like that, because my mother-in-law had a bunch of them. So I just put my stuff in the Ziploc bags, and those go in those like tote bags. And I'm gonna be, so after I do the fair, which is one of the other bigger events that I have of the year, for my normal farmers market, I'm gonna be scaling back a bunch, where I'm doing the same thing that you had said, where it's like it's less quantity, and then I'm also gonna be scaling back the number of products that I have on there, because as cross country season starts, I'm not going to have nearly as much time to come and do setup leading up to that. So I need to set up less stuff. And so I'm going to take fewer items with me. So then it's just like, instead of like 2 or 3 tables, it's just 1 table. And, maybe I don't do, I'm probably not going to do any of I'm not going to do any of the wind spinners. So I'm not going to set those up, or bird feeders or anything like that. But I'll do other things that are there that will fit in there. And so it'll make it easier to quicker setup and tear down as well. Which does get into reevaluating your booth setup and what you need. Because I know, especially over the summer, I've constantly been looking at how am I displaying stuff? How long did it take me to set up this stuff? How can I make it faster? I've gotten to the stage where it's like keychains, they're pretty well optimized with how I have that set up. I get a rubber band around them to keep them on there, so I don't have to put all of the keychains on the rack and take them off. And then I started doing those little snack tray things with the covers on top of them, where I can they've got those inserts in there if I've got really small items, but I just take the lid off and then set it on the table, and then I prop them up so that it's nice and angled and people can see it. But I know that I have not done a very good job with signage or business name, but that's something that I need to do, where it's oh yeah, I've seen other people with the little signs that they hang on their canopy tent or the banner that they have behind them. So that's something that I know that I need to do to update, because then you can get some of those recurring customers or those custom orders where it's it's easier to find you social media wise for those additional requests. Because that's technically what you're most likely to get out of doing that, by having that image, not image, but brand recognition.
Yeah, and I get people that talk about that all the time, where they recognize my sign or they see it from afar and they'll come up. So that it's very important to have. So again, another thing that you need to start kind of working on, and that kind of sets into our next area, which is booth and storefront, which is getting that area set up. This time of year, I haven't done it yet, but it's not this time of year. Sorry. Once I start knowing what I'm going to make for the holiday season, or restock my products, I'm going to start evaluating what my booth setup is going to be. And if I need to get some new display tables, tablecloths, stuff like that. But also my wife and I will sit down with some graph paper, and every market that we sign up for, we'll go ahead, and if we know it's going to be a 10 by 10, we basically have our standard layout, but some of them are a 6 by 8, and then we buy 2 of them. So it's 6 by 16. And so that's going to be a different layout than a 10 by 10. So we basically set up a graph paper of, okay, this is how we know how much table space we have, where are we putting things, where are they going to go? So we can kind of plan that psychology of how we lay out everything across the table. And then we can, basically have a cheat sheet. So when we arrive to this location, we know where everything goes ahead of time. So it helps set up a lot faster too.
Yeah. And it also helps knowing if you are if you're basically sandwiched in with other vendors, shoulder to shoulder, or if you have a little bit of space in between, because then you can, it's like, well, I might not have that kind of U shape where people can come in because they can come in on the sides. So if you are able to get that from the event host, if you haven't been there before, that helps you know kind of what to prepare for. And the other thing too is that, like, I mean, right now I am still doing outdoor stuff, so it pays to keep track of the weather and having something that can kind of shield you if you need to, because you've mentioned, you know, rain a couple of times, and I very much enjoy having the canopy sides that I can put up if I need to, because sometimes it can either block the sun so it's not like super duper hot, or it can kind of like keep you out of the wind a little bit, or if it does start raining, it can kind of shield you a little bit from that kind of sideways rain. So if you do have a canopy, I think that's worth at least looking into. I know that there are some people that what they will do is they will make their banner basically they're like the back side of their canopy, so that's kind of what blocks the sun. So you can kind of do a little bit of a 2-for-1 on those. So, because honestly, your comfort does factor into it, because if you're not feeling good, it's more difficult to be engaged with customers. So especially if you're outside planning that booth so that you can be at your top game and feel fine is gonna definitely pay dividends. So it's worth investing in the ergonomics and the comfort of it. Like if you need, you know, because obviously if it's really, really busy, we're generally on our feet talking with people. But if there are lulls in it and you need a nice chair because your back starts hurting, like that's gonna definitely help you do better during the span of like a full weekend market. Because it's like I've got my this county fair is technically like 4 days, so that's a lot of time like on your feet in a concrete area. So it's nice having a chair to sit in during the downtime. And then another thing in there is that if you have not gotten a little Bluetooth speaker to have a little bit of music in your area, that is a good thing to have, to just kind of break up the monotony of some of those fairs. And now I'm curious, where do you put your speaker in relation to your booth? Do you put it like at the front, at the back? Where
I put it under my table.
Under your table? Okay.
Because and that way it's not like blasting in people's faces, or mine as I'm sitting there. So I put it under the table where I'm sitting. That way, if I need to turn it off or grab it, I can too pretty easily.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I've had that. So what I had done in the outdoors ones is I would like hang it in the canopy, but I had to turn it down because it's like I can't hear people because it was at that level. So that's a good thing that's a good note to have, is the placement of that speaker, because it's like you want it to be loud enough that people can hear it, but not so loud that when they come in, you can't talk with them. Because I had to frequently, because I did it at that 4th of July market where it was like I almost had to like turn down the volume when people actually came in to talk to them, and then I would turn it back up if I had no one else, so then you can kind of hear it in that area. And honestly, I need to, since I've got 4 days of this stuff, I need to get a different soundtrack, because I think the soundtrack that I have is like maybe only a couple of hours until it starts repeating. So I'm going to get really bored of that music super fast.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Let's see what else. Anything else on the booth setup?
I mean, just making sure you have everything ahead of time. Those display sheets, the rack, your rack displays. I use the travel bookshelves. They're a folding metal bookshelf that are 4 tiers and they're 4 feet tall. I use those in lieu of one table. So I'll have one table out. If like it's a 10 by 10, I'll have basically 2 tables and an L, and then the other part of the U, because I make a U, will be 2 of these bookmark things, or bookshelves, because it allows me to get multiple levels of product. So just making sure you have all that this time of year. And again, on that market, so on that wish list, so you can start seeing when they go on sale. And then lastly, I guess then that moves into for people who are online sellers or those who want to do marketing ahead of time. This is a great time to start going through and updating your website and your listings and your photos. I recently discovered through Andy Bird Builds a website called Kiddle, Kidle. It's an AI assisted website. I'm not generally a huge fan of AI, and I apologize for those who are going to hate me for this, but I do have to say I really do like Kiddle because I can do portrait photography and I can do product photography. It just takes a long time, and I don't want to do it. So even though I can, I'm not going to hire somebody to do it. I never would, because I can do it. And so Kiddle, what I found is if I take a picture of my product on a white background, it does a really, really good job of making them look like perfect in use photos and product photos. I've been really impressed. So I've been using a lot of that to basically, revamp my website currently, because I have a lot of product photos on there that are just old photos that I'm not really excited about, but I've never taken the time to go through and re-update those. And so I'm kind of using Kiddle now to do that. So this is a good time for those who are doing online marketing.
KITTL?
Oh yeah. Sorry. KITTL.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was looking it up, and it's like, it's trying to redirect me to Kindle. So yeah, I was looking at it.
Sorry.
And that's a Android and iPhone app, I'm guessing.
I assume it is. So I use it through the website.
Oh, okay.
Because they have a lot of besides product photos, you can make videos, in-use videos out of it. It can replace your Canva, because you can basically have sorry, my cat's meowing. You can have a blank canvas and start making posters. So it gives you quite a few options. So
yeah, because I know I had used back when I had originally set up my website, and I really haven't touched it. I can't remember what the app was, but it was something like that, where it was a background removal, and then you could actually request putting it into a scene. And this was like maybe 3 years ago, so it was a while ago. So there's probably better apps now, but something that can stage that product photography is a nice thing to have, especially if you do a lot of it, and if taking product pictures does take a lot of time, because showing it in different settings of where it would be used is very helpful, but you don't always have those settings, because it's like, because I think, doesn't Brandy over at Handy Dandy Brandy have like basically a like faux kitchen or something like that, where she does product photos set up somewhere? So because obviously that takes square footage, and if you don't have that, taking an image of it and then converting it over to like a nice kitchen or something like that, it helps people who need to see that visual of it in its space where it's going to be, and it just makes it click for that person. So if you can't get a physical one, or your kitchen is messy or whatever, it's a good option to do that.
Yeah. That's really all I have as far as setup and prep goes. I guess the only other thought is if you do need multiple people manning your booth besides you, this is a good time to start nailing down people who might be on your call list of employees. If you're going to buy some extra help. Pay some extra help, not buy.
Yeah, if you need seasonal help for whatever, if it's, I mean, because it just kind of depends on what stage people are. If they are still in the single shop, or single shop plus some machines that are running, or single shop machines, and then maybe a part-time employee or two, or like you had said, someone who exclusively helps you out with booth sales, so that you don't have a super long line and then people are leaving the line because they can't check out. So
yeah, I'm lucky enough that my wife helps me at all of our markets. There is one that we do get a third person to help us with at the casino. And actually this year, because of the way the calendar sits, the last like 4 years we've had 5 weeks in December. This year we're only having 4 or weekends, and because of that, or not December, I'm sorry, November. That a couple of the markets now that I go to every year are overlapping each other. And so she is going to do one of the markets with a family member, and then I'm going to do the other one, and then I'm going to hire somebody. So, or we'll hire somebody for both markets. But yeah, that's something to think about this year, guys, is that your markets, if you do one every weekend in November, usually it is only a 4 weekend year instead of 5. So some of the people are having to reschedule and kind of consolidate how those are looking. So
yeah, because I actually had it was a market that I was going to do. I think it was going to be in November that I did last year, and last year was their first year, and then they ended up canceling this year. So I don't know if that was, I mean, that makes it at least easier for me to fit more stuff in, but I don't know if I have very many options for stuff. But like you were saying with scheduling stuff, I mean, it's good to get that help scheduled early, because if you ask people early enough, they can work it into their schedule to help with that. And it's usually, I will say that it's usually easier to hire or bring on someone for doing sales, because there's a direct correlation between how much additional revenue you can get, because it's directly tied to more sales. So honestly, that's where I would, generally speaking, recommend getting help first.
So would I.
Because with the manufacturing side of things, like, they're not going to do it as well as you. They're going to need help. They physically have to. It's something they're going to have to come in recurringly more often, as opposed to, I mean, if you're doing markets, it's a select window that they can help with. So it's a little bit more limited time range.
Well, and if you're running a business, you also have to be aware of business things too. So think about insurance, for example. I buy insurance as a business, but I buy it for my market events. So I don't have liability insurance for inside my shop. So I'm not going to pay somebody to come work inside my shop. If they get hurt, then I'm on board, or I'm on the hook for that. Where if they trip and fall at a venue, I at least have insurance that covers that through my business insurance that way. So
that's a very good point.
Yeah. I'm not saying, everyone is going to sue you, but we do live in the United States, and we are a pretty sue happy country. So
well, yeah. And generally you're probably going to have, like, because usually something like that probably falls under like a workman's comp type insurance package, that you would need to add on. So, cause like, I know that when I got my insurance put together, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to do workman's comp for myself, because it just falls under, because we have insurance through my wife through her work. So it just all kind of funnels under that. So it is a little bit of a different discussion about injury and insurance versus injury insurance and potential lost revenue because of being out of the ability to work and produce more. So that's a additional type of insurance package that you probably have to look at. And that's probably only one that you would be into if you are essentially full-time. Because if you're part-time, it probably does not financially make sense, the amount that you need to pay in for the amount of coverage that you would actually get. So yeah.
Yeah. And
then, if you're doing seasonal stuff, it just kind of depends, because I think in previous episodes, I think I had asked Mr. Duffey, and I think he said that he doesn't generally do like season specific type of items. So if you are someone who is season specific, looking at new designs for that stuff, and I mean, honestly speaking, we're all probably going to be looking for new designs, whether they're seasonal or recurring items, either way. So it's just a consideration to have, because obviously if you've got a seasonal item that you have, if it doesn't sell during that season, it's going to be much more difficult to sell it. So being aware of how much inventory you make, because like I I do have a small amount of inventory of like Christmas ornaments that I have from some of my Christmas events. So I don't have a whole lot, but I've been able to shove them in a box somewhere to be able to have. And that's one of the ones that I have done.
Yep, same.
Yeah, and I
have some laser Christmas items are cookie, basically little wooden cookie slices that I'll do lasered items on, and I make them for Christmas. That's my only one. Otherwise, everything else is evergreen.
Yeah, because the probably, I mean, fall decor is probably a safe bet as well. But beyond like fall and then like Christmassy / wintry stuff, potentially the summery type stuff are probably some of your more major overarching holiday / season. Because if you can, because it can be a little bit feast or famine if it's a very specific holiday. Because it's like, if you make something for, say, specifically like St. Patrick's Day, like that's a very, very specific holiday,
right?
As opposed to something that's seasonal, like, spring stuff or fall stuff, where it's like, if it's like fall and it's like leaves, or like Duffy had mentioned, like leaf earrings, where it's like, that can kind of be something that you sell year round, but you probably sell more of those in the fall when it's a little bit more seasonal, potentially because it's a little bit more fashion wise, more trendy. So anyway, that can be a whole other discussion on what products to actually choose and have for your inventory.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Well, then let's talk about some quick maker news.
Also, we skipped what
Good news,
Oh my God, we did. What are we doing?
I know. You had already started on the other stuff, and when I realized it, and I was like, you know what? I'll just wait until we're done with this, and then we'll loop it back in.
Oh, yeah, we're looping back in right now. This is what happens when I got distracted by a text message, and then I had to respond, and I missed the complete segment transmission. Okay. So let's talk about makers that we've been watching this week. So my first one is Ellen Wood Designs, and that's Ellen with ELLYN Wood Designs. Made a beautiful wooden mirror, so wood back mirror in the middle, but they did a hand carved wooden fern design on the mirror, so kind of a 3D wooden fern laid on top of the glass, and it looks like it was made out of redwood. So it looked really, really nice. I was very impressed, and I like mirror designs, and especially when you do something a little woodsy. So that was really cool.
All right, first one that I have is Carbon Craft, which is, wait, did I spell that right? CARBAN craft, not carbon like the element.
Carban craft.
Yeah, let me double check that.
Do. Our listeners are so happy right now.
Oh yeah.
You're still a failure.
My goodness, I'm doing the best I can. I'm holding the flashlight.
Emotional damage.
I'm holding the flashlight, Dad. I'm doing my best.
Bueller.
Oh my God, I was way off. It's Corbin Craft. CORBAN Craft. And this is a slightly bigger account than I'm normally mentioning. Okay, so this one they did. So a while back, they made a guitar rattle for their kid.
I remember seeing that.
Like the body of a guitar, and then for the strings that went through the whatever the formal name is for the hole in the guitar. That's where they put a couple of pieces, and that's where the little rattle pieces. It almost looks like a little abacus. So they did another one where it was a violin, and it just looks really, really cool. Especially, it's in walnut, and it's just a very, very nice piece. So it's very well executed, really fun, and especially something that like little kids' babies can have, because it's always difficult designing something that works for those small children that they can because they're going to beat it up and really put it through its paces. So it's really nice to see something that works well for that segment.
My next one is from EDEK Wood Carving. Created a beautiful handcrafted little Groot. Now I've seen lots of carved wooden Groots before. This one honestly was the best one I've seen. A lot of detail, made it look like in the arms, the roots were like twisting around to make the arm. It was just very, very detailed and really well done. And it had some pyrography on it. So it was burned or stained. Maybe it was hard to tell, but it had lots of detail and color variation. So I was really impressed.
Yeah, that is really, really amazing. It looks like they do a lot of very small figurines. Oh, they've got a cute little Dobby. That's adorable. I love that. All right. Next one that I have is Geppetto's Guild. Geppettos Guild. So I think this one might have been a repost of their project. But they do, and we've mentioned them on here before, because they do a lot of guitars, especially with epoxy. And so the one that they had was they took a fish and then put the lure in the mouth, and then had part of the reel on the body of the guitar, and then they filled the rest in with resin. And it was just a very, very awesome piece that, like, it had, because of like the fish and the lure in there, it just had like that sense of motion in there that made it look very lifelike. I mean, it did have an actual fish in there, so it's very lifelike, but positioning them in a way.
Nice. My last one is from the House of Timber. They made a beautiful limited batch of their wooden cherries. Now, I like to call this 3D marquetry almost, because it is a 3D designed element. It has a back, and then the cherries are raised from the back, and all the parts of the cherries are all made from different woods. So there's some wenge in there, there's some paduk, maple, walnut, and it's all just kind of mixed in. So it's like 3D marquetry. But they made a limited batch. They sell these. They're really cool looking. I really like them. And who doesn't like cherries?
That's right. All right, last one that I have, and this is the best one that I have for this week, I will say. Not the other ones aren't great, but this is the one that I really enjoyed.
This is the cherries on the icing.
Yeah, the cherry on top. Lady Woodgoods. So they made a beautiful commission piece for the client's dog, and they've got the dog face in there, and the dog is holding a golden snitch from Harry Potter in their mouth, and then behind them is just this. It's just a very well put together scenery of, like, it's got all of the stuff, all of the references to Hogwarts and the Harry Potter series that you could ask for, because they've got Hogwarts school. There's a hippogriff over by Hagrid's place. There's the Whomping Willow. They've got the Quidditch pitch. They've got the phoenix flying in the air. And then there's even more details in there than I can even list, because there's like people in windows and stuff and all sorts of things. The amount of references to all of the characters and aspect of this franchise is just top tier. And then to finish it off for the frame, they have their broom on the bottom, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was a Nimbus 2000, which is the classic broom that Harry rides while he is playing.
Right, because he gets Quidditch. The firebolt later.
Right, yeah. He eventually upgrades after, I believe it is, Malfoy's dad buys all of their Slytherin team players brand new brooms, and the Nimbus 2000 isn't the latest and greatest.
It's they all got bought the Nimbus 2001, but Harry's broom was just fine until he basically fainted from the Dementors, and it flew into the Whomping Willow, and the Whomping Willow beat the junk out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not a nerd or anything.
I just play one on TV.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. I don't think there's any other sections that we've missed.
Oh, good. Well, then.
Good news, everyone.
So just some maker news as a reminder, we are shifting the podcast from the weekly that we've been trying to do to a bi-weekly. So we are off next week and then we'll be back again the week after. So we're not going anywhere, but you're still just you're going to get, some better shows from us being, a little bit more time in between. So we have more things to talk about on our bench. Yeah, a little more stuff.
End up being 2 to 3 shows per month, depending on the schedule.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. If you were lucky enough to attend the Maine woodworking event that just happened this past weekend, so I hope you all had a great time.
Right. I was so bummed that I couldn't get to it.
I know. It just
it's this weekend or is it this upcoming weekend?
It's this coming weekend for us, but for people who are listening, it'll be this past weekend.
Oh yeah, because of time. Sorry,
Yes, because of time.
Yeah, because I was like, wait a second, I could have made it out there. But I was like, oh yeah, it's the same time as that fair weekend that I was gonna be around. Otherwise, I totally would have tried to make it up there. I am so bummed that I can't make it. So it looked like it was a great time.
Yes. But things that are coming up this coming weekend is going to be IWF in Atlanta. So that's Atlanta in August 25th through the 28th. In September, we have Handworks
I've
in
been
Iowa.
To that one the last time that it happened, and it was awesome. It's a very, especially if you are into hand tools, obviously that's who they gear towards, but it's so nice because, especially if you are adding to your amount of hand tools that you actually have, it's nice to be able to test different tools one right after the other so you find out which ones that you like more or don't like, and maybe it just looked good on paper. So I discovered that I have a much better I like Veritas much more than Lee Nielsen, and it doesn't take buying a Lee Nielsen and then returning one to figure that out, which is a expensive endeavor to do. So yeah, it's definitely a very, very wonderful event, and dare I say, save you money when you are buying hand tools because you don't have to buy duplicates and try stuff out. So you're practically making money by going.
Mm-hmm. And then let's see. Right after that is going to be the Texas Woodworking Fest in Austin. That is September 25th through the 27th. Remember that I am teaching a class, and so I will be there. So make sure that you get your tickets and let me know that you're going so we can meet up and hang out and have fun. And then
real quick,
the
are you going to make a Pinewood Derby car and have an alien driver?
Yes, I am. Of course I am.
Alien driver and a Sasquatch. Or are you going to do two, one alien and one Sasquatch?
I don't know yet. I've got to look at the kit and figure out exactly what I'm going to do. But yes, I am entering the Pinewood Derby from another woodshop podcast that other show people listen to.
Yes, that people occasionally listen to.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you could do like a Bonnie and Clyde where it's like a Sasquatch and alien. That'd be fun.
Yep. And then finally we have the Vetric user group meeting coming up in October in Nashville. The first and third Woodworking in America is October 9th and 10th. And then, which unfortunately is the same weekend as Maker Camp, which is October 9th through the 12th. So, but that's all the news we got, unless you have anything else.
Tell me about the Vetric user group. I've never been to that. Have you?
I was part of the digital user group this past year, which was an online class. They do an every other year. So they do 1 year digital, 1 year in person. And so in Nashville, they basically, all the Vetric guys come in. They have Vetric masters from around the world come in, like Kyle from Learn Your CNC. Andy Bird Builds will be there and talking as well. So there's going to be, and they do classes and training sessions. And so if you are new to Vetric, or if you're an advanced user, this is an opportunity to get hands-on with the product, get to know all the staff, and basically work with any other users that are there too. So I really wanted to go, but I wish I could go. I really wanted to go. I just couldn't make it work this year, but I'm still kind of trying. We'll see. Fingers crossed. All right, folks. Well, thank you again so much for listening. And until we see you next time in 2 weeks.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. We love our patrons.